So we move on to item number 10, which is on page 129. And you may recall the reason why this has come to here is that there was a motion that went through to a full council from Councillor Richard McRae concerning the LGA's Debate Not Hate campaign. The full council decided it warranted more than just one quick debate and a vote, and we actually did a task and finish group, and this is basically the result of that. So I'll come to the bits at the end because I don't know, people might want to add things, and so Satch, do you want to cover off?
Thank you, Chair. Councillor Carr has just set out, this item originated from a motion brought by Councillor McRae in October 23 to full council to pass a motion that we sign up to the Debate Not Hate campaign, and before we did that, recommended that this committee look at what that campaign was seeking to achieve. A task and finish group of members was set up, and officers equally attended at these meetings. The campaign literature was looked at in detail, as was their support kit that they're offering to roll out across different authorities once the council agrees that that's what they're looking to do. There's a number of authorities already signed up to the Debate Not Hate campaign, which in essence is really trying to raise awareness across councils about the increasing difficulty that members are experiencing, whether it be at surgeries or when they're leaving meetings or even at meetings from the public. Only today there's a statement made by the Deputy Prime Minister stating how this increase in toxicity in the way that public debate is dealt with and the sort of intimidation that members are facing really requires financial support and extra policing and extra measures and legislation to be put in place to better protect members. A lot of that is directed at MPs from the Deputy Prime Minister's comments, but clearly this Debate Not Hate campaign is really seeking the government to make sure that equal measures are put in place for local councillors who are, very much open to difficulty when conducting their affairs. So the support that this signing up to the campaign will do will, enable the council to put in place a lot of the toolkit to ensure that we put a clear message out to the public that, that really there is no place for intimidation and abuse of members. A healthy level of challenge is clearly acceptable, but there is no place for hate in our debating. So the task group, having looked at the toolkit and discussed with officers what support there is, what difficulties they have that are borough related, and what support officers could continue to develop to support them, have put forward the recommendation that we do sign up to the Debate Not Hate campaign, and there's a number of recommendations that have been made that we can also do to support members through training, through looking at councillors to also work together to ensure that we set that exemplary standard in the way that we conduct ourselves. We had a discussion in particular about the fact that members' addresses sometimes being published can expose them to certain risks, and therefore there's a recommendation within the report to write to government to ask that the same sort of protection is allowed for those details not to be published, and the rest of the recommendations are set out. Happy to answer any questions if members would like me to draw in on anything in particular.
Thank you. I think in that letter, I think we're going to put in a thought that you came up with, Gabby, which is that when it comes to election time, you either have to put your address or you have to put your, like, a resident of the borough of Broxtowe, something like that. And it would be actually much better if everybody did the same and just put a resident of the borough of, or the city of Derby, as one of the Greasley councillors put, a resident of the borough of Broxtowe, etc., etc. That, I mean, that I understand MPs don't even have to put on their home addresses, and which should be allowed for local councils as well. Most local councils never get any problems, but it's clear that some councillors do, including myself. And you know, MPs need protection, but quite honestly, so do local councillors as well. And social media companies have got a lot to answer for, and what they're allowed to get away with as well. And I thank Satch, because you've put an immense amount of work into this. I know you have, and we've spoke many occasions about it. The task and finish groups were very, very positive, and there is one recommendation. There's a note in that the note in of point 1, and then the committee is asked to recommend to council point 2. Do I propose that? Do I have a seconder? Okay, and I'll throw it across the floor if anybody wants to make any comments. Yes, sorry.
Well, there are two things here: personal nastiness and political nastiness. Now, I've been a parish councillor for over 40 years and a borough councillor for over 20 years. And I don't ever remember any personal nastiness. Yes, there's been the political nastiness. You may say I'm lucky, perhaps I'm a nice person, but no, I really don't. I can't really see what all the fuss is about, to be honest, but I'm sure people will tell me that they've had terrible things happen to them.
Yeah, otherwise why would he be here? There are councillors in this authority whose lives have been made hell over the last few months. You're lucky that you've not had that happen to you, and but I shall leave it at that. Does somebody have their hand up over here? Yeah, Peter.
Just a couple of points. Just on 2C, to work together across political groups to promote and uphold exemplary standards of public and political debate. It's a very honourable thing to be going towards. Jill, you haven't said anything, it's because you are lovely. I'll agree that as my councillor, you are lovely. We might have political differences, but personally, other than you were recommending my haircut to your husband's on Sunday, I believe. But when some of the items of hate is when people put things either in printed media or on social media where it may be wanting to have political debate, but those things that are written either cause on social media a pile-on, because people might be tagged in or named. And I think if we're working together to have exemplary behaviour, then maybe we shouldn't tag people in on social media. Would be a suggestion, and put people's names in. And then printed information, again, there is political debate, and then there is, I won't say lies, embellishments of the truth, maybe a diplomatic way of saying it. If we're going to be exemplary, then we should put truths, not twisted versions of truths in printed media. Would be a suggestion. And then on withhold their home addresses, I agree with that. I mentioned it last week, though, however, that I know there are certain councillors here that have got their home addresses withheld because of issues in the past.
Yeah.
But you type that person's name into Google and Broxtowe Council, and their home addresses come up because an older version of the web page is still available and has never been taken down. And that's not someone that knows how to dig into websites. just type it into a Google search and it comes up straight away. So if we're not going to have at-home addresses printed, then old web pages there needs to be a way to take it down, because if the people that have done it now, it's there forever at the moment. So I understand the point, but if we can't do anything about people that are councillors and been councillors before or have put their address down, they are there in the ether forever.
That's I think we know who you're referring to, and that's actually quite worrying, because it was a very, very dangerous situation that councillor was in, still is, and if that councillor's address is becoming public, then we need to try and have a look at that and find out what we can do about that.
Leaflets were distributed last week to people's home addresses which aren't listed.
Yeah, I don't know how that happened either. Yes. Sorry, Councillor Owen, yeah.
Yeah, Chairman, I disagree with your point that on the ballot paper we should all be recorded in a similar sort of way. I am more than happy for my home address to be printed on the ballot paper. And in local elections, people do like to see that. They like to see whether or not the person who is putting themselves forward for election actually lives in the area that they are choosing to represent. And they can make their mind up one way or the other on whether or not to vote for that person. If you don't want to put your address on, then the compromise position at the moment is a resident in Broxtowe, or as you pointed out, one of our candidates, a resident of Derby who was successful. So that's perfectly reasonable, a reasonable thing to do. But I'm more than happy for my address to go, and indeed telephone number, to go on the to go on the ballot paper, and I wouldn't wish any change to that proviso at all. I'm not clear what all of this is likely to achieve. We've heard reference to councillors whose lives have been made hell, but we've never had any examples. I don't know what you are referring to. The only thing that came up during the debate in the council chamber was that there's a Facebook page up in the north of the borough called Exposing Dishonesty, which makes comments about councillors. I assume the comments that are listed there are factually accurate. Otherwise, if they're not, then the people concerned could be sued.
Why do you think that the person that's behind that is currently on bail? And he has got bail conditions preventing him from having direct and indirect contact with councillors in this authority.
Which means
because he tells lies.
Which, well, if he's telling lies and they're defamatory, then there is legal recourse to deal with that. And if the person concerned is a danger, then clearly the police are dealing with that issue and taking it forward.
Yeah. Did you want, Sat, do you want to come in on that?
If I can just come in, Chair, I think it'd be wise not to go into detail about any particular case. Councillor Owen, I do hear, your comments that you assume information may be correct, but if we've not seen it, I think it'd be better that we don't draw those conclusions and talk about a particular case and talk about the fact that actually the issues about debate, not hate, could come from anybody. We have the campaign itself that reports the significant increase that members are experiencing, and it's a question not for individuals to have to justify in this meeting whether they have been subjected, but whether this council wish to join the campaign and support that local councillors equally should have measures put in place by their councils to protect them should that need arise. I don't believe you need to necessarily have a proven case to support this campaign. It's about working with the officers to ensure that we do understand your needs and to establish how can we support that moving forward.
Yes, I'm well aware of that. I'm trying to get to the bottom of why it is felt necessary that this should even be up for discussion, because I don't know the extent of any particular problem. It starts off, the recommendation starts with increasing levels of toxicity and in public and political discourse. Across the council chamber, we've always had political discourse and political argument. That's the nature of politics. But if it gets to a threatening stage, then that is a police matter and should be dealt with by the police. I don't see what this signing up to some campaign is likely to achieve. I thought there was a level of perhaps intimidation at last week's planning meeting. And prior to the planning meeting, I better not go into the details, but we dealt with it. So there's not a particular issue as far as I am concerned. We always try to promote and uphold exemplary standards of public and political debate. We sign up to a code of conduct. We agree to that anyway. We're already doing that. And as far as I'm concerned, if there's any physical or other intimidation, then it is a matter to be reported to the police. And if you're getting online comments, well, turn it off. Don't go on to the particular thing, the particular pages that do it, and just.
Councillor Owen, you are trying my patience.
Well,
why should me and why should the other councillors who have been going through to this prove to you that what's been happening to us has affected our mental and physical health? Why should we? It's nothing to do with you. You should accept that it has. You should accept that it has.
Well,
and your comments will only please one person, and that's the person this has got bail conditions against them and who runs the Exposing Dishonesty site. Your comments are very offensive to a lot of us. Be warned about that. Thank you.
Now, I regard that as threatening.
He warns that you are bordering on breaking the code of conduct, Councillor Owen, by saying you virtually said that we were not telling the truth.
I didn't say that
yes,
at all.
you did.
That's
what you were saying. Councillor Patterson and then Councillor Bunn. Thank you.
A bit similar to what Councillor Bale said is I'm quite happy to sign up to this, but I think as well councillors should take some responsibility when they are writing on social media, because what happens is they create a post which then creates hate for a fellow councillor. And I think we've got to, I don't mind political differences, I'm different, but when I walk out that door, I'll be polite to anyone. You know, we do have political differences, but when it gets to social media, things are written in a different tone, and it is deliberately done to create hate. So I think as councillors, we also need to take responsibility for our actions.
Which, of course, is in the code of conduct.
Yeah, unfortunately, not always.
Councillor Bunn.
I mean, a lot of the point I was just going to make has already been covered by Sash previously, but it's just to say that, you know, I think it's fantastic to hear that not all councillors in the room do experience hate and abuse, and that's fun, and that's really reassuring. I think hopefully if anyone is watching this meeting, then they will find that reassuring, because the idea that everyone experiences it is very off-putting. But at the same time, we have policies that are based on the fact that if someone experiences something, there is suitable support and guidance in place for that, and that is what this motion is like trying to do. Certainly I know of numerous individuals that have experienced issues of differing levels and differing kinds, and there are a number of different sort of responses that are appropriate depending on what experience someone has had. Pulling all that into one place and making sure that it's available when needed for individuals isn't a bad thing. And that is a lot of what this is addressing. There are extreme cases in there as well, but there's also far more minor things, and just making sure that people know where they go with those problems and what support is available to them, and what they should be doing in that situation, so that they're not felt like alone and isolated is really important. Thank you.
Thank you. Sats, did you want to come in? Councillor Owen? You can.
And I trust you're not going to threaten me.
I didn't
But can
threaten
I,
anybody.
just a minute, let me speak. Can I say that all this is making councillors nervous, I would think. Not every councillor, but some councillors. It is all being blown up. Can I ask you, I don't suppose you'll answer me, but has something happened to you that has made you very nervous? And
I think you bring stats in here because we're getting to personal issues.
okay, just say
Why do you
no, I'm
think
not going to
Councillor
tell you.
Williamson's
You don't
here
need
as
to
well?
go round the houses.
Talk off.
May through Chair, I think we are on dangerous territory of going through specifics about any particular councillor's experience of intimidation and harassment. That is not the intention of today's meeting. Those matters are private and confidential, and a member has a right to respect that position without having to take those questions at this meeting. However, the issues before you today are to consider whether this council wants to support a campaign that has identified a high increase in toxicity in the way that members are being treated and intimidated. And as you've just heard from the conversations here, it's not necessarily by the public, it can be member to member. That is why these recommendations, which are framed around the LGA's recommendations, to note the toxicity is increasing, to encourage that we have exemplified standards, not just the code of conduct, which is of course where those standards and those obligations derive from, which you've all signed up to, but it's embedding in this same statement that we recognise that members all have a role to play in the way that they engage to improve the way that we demonstrate there is no place for debate or hate in politics, in the way that we do our work. The issues about personal matters we have gone into, and I think have gone rather uncomfortable, but I think we need to really refocus our attention on whether we are going to support a campaign that has revealed some true findings which many councils have supported. These recommendations derive from the LGA. There's been a slight tweak of our own suggestions within that, but predominantly this is what the campaign is asking councils to put in place so that councillors don't feel discouraged from becoming local councillors, especially those that watch meetings like this, that may take the view that actually it is not the place that they want to be. They don't want to expose themselves to risk. How can we improve that position for them? We can improve it by showing to the public that we're prepared as a council to sign up and put in place processes and policies to ensure that we will look after councillors the best that we can by hearing their experiences and developing the support that they need. Thank you.
Thank you. Andy?
I'd just like to endorse all that and say, as a councillor, I'm prepared to take a certain amount of hostile comment for any decision I choose to make or oppose. However, I'm also a family man. I've got relatively young kids, and there's no reason that anybody's family in here should take any abuse or anything like that because we choose to be in here. My family don't choose to be in here, and if there is anything aimed at me, they need to know that they are protected from that. Yeah. And that is an important consideration that perhaps not all councillors have as they're older or don't have kids. But as somebody with a relatively young family, I certainly feel that, and I think it's very important.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bob?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I think regardless of whether our home addresses are published or not, as councillors we are accessible. We have to be, otherwise we can't function as councillors. But I think what's changed is social media, and at times it can be extremely toxic, and people seem to think that because they're commenting on putting something on social media that lower standards or very low standards apply and they're acceptable and they shouldn't be. And I've been threatened in the street, and I've felt threatened, and I've also had nonsense written about me on social media. But I think, and probably we all have at some time, but I think I definitely support this debate not hate motion. I think it's we should try to strive to the best standards, and I think that's what this does. So I support it.
Okay. Let's call him.
Okay, so there is, I believe in prevention is better than cure, and there are people out there who just want to goad and goad and goad, and we've seen it happen all the time. It may just be a flippant comment and you buy it back when you don't mean to. So yes, we do need a system whereby we can rely on, if you're feeling intimidated because of emails you are receiving and you don't know whether the next point is going to be stalking or coming to your house and what have you. So yes, we do need a form of prevention. We do have responsibility as councillors, but at the end of the day, there is always some extremist or maybe like some anti-abortionist who takes offence with what you've just said. You know, you just do not know nowadays. So yes, I would rather have prevention.
Good, thank you.
Yes,
Michael.
Chairman, I've listened with great intent from all the quarters, and I think we understand between each other that there is a great amount of respect between all members, and it's not necessarily coming from the members outwards. My problem is, and I've been put through the ringer a time or two at this council, I don't mean by members, but the public out there, the problem is the rumour mill is stronger than anything there is going, and somebody passes it on, and you know it expands and extends. And sadly, our reputations are trashed. And one of the biggest things is because people out there don't understand what councils are, what they do, and how they work. Now we've had this problem in our parish. We don't get a great deal of problems like you do in this area, and I can accept all that because the different situations in each ward and each division. But these people, they just want to be noted for some, they need some notoriety. And the difficulty is, there are arrows out there that hit, and I'll tell you what, sometimes they damn well hurt. Because the vast majority, and I'm sure I speak for everybody in this council, we try and be as straight as we can, and as honest as we can. As we've said, there is a code of conduct, and we do try to stick to it. But how do we stop these people out there who don't understand, they don't come to council meetings? I mean, we've had issues, and we've said, look, we're running short numbers, we've got 6 vacancies. Why don't you come and join us? You'll understand more. They just turn the back and they're gone. But they are determined, they just want to cause trouble. And that comes from ex-councillors as well. So all I can say is a lot of these is untruths that are bent out of all proportion. And sadly, we get the flag. Totally unwarranted, but they don't come and ask us. They don't talk to the members. What do you do?
No. Okay. Anyone? Yeah. Yes, Richard.
Yeah, I mean, I personally never received any harassment or insult or anything like that. But I think you've got to work on the precautionary principle. And so if some people are, then they need to be protected. And I don't see what we lose by doing this. There may be a slight cost or something, but I don't see that we lose anything by doing this. It just reinforces what is already there in terms of the charter. Charter, is it called? Code of conduct, thank you. So all it does is it bolsters that which is already there. So I don't really see that it's a problem that needs to be, needs working up against.
I think the thought of the task and finish group and officers was that they need something that they can look to with regards to the health and safety of councillors. And that is why we've gone down this route, so that If something does happen to somebody else, then the protocol is there for dealing with it. And up till recently, it probably hasn't. It's been quite fragmented, and the events of the last few months have actually focused minds, not just of councillors but also officers, as what we need to do about it. If you've not experienced it, I hope you never do, and you're absolutely right, because if they keep firing arrows, even though they're firing misconceptions and lies, eventually they will strike, whether they're true or not.
Yes.
And to be frank with you, that's what's been happening. It's not acceptable. It's not easy for the police to bring prosecutions, and my God, they've tried. And but that's as I said, that's social media. People can hide on social media. It's not easy to take out a libel case about somebody who you don't know whether it's them or not. You basically are only looking at semantics, but yeah, and this needs to be put in to protect people in the future from what's been going off. And as I said earlier, if you want to come to me afterwards and I can explain what's happening, if you don't know what's been happening, I'm quite to do, but I'm not going to do it in public. If you want to read it in public, then you can go onto the site that Councillor Owen mentioned, which in my opinion should be taken down, but there you go. But Facebook won't do it. And I do take exception to Councillor Owen, I'm sorry, saying that if it appears on there, it must be true.
I didn't say that.
Yes, you did.
No, I didn't.
Yes, you did.
No, he didn't.
Yes, he did. Can I just say, I was in mind tonight as to whether I would let you speak, because you're ex officio and you didn't attend one of the task and finish groups. I could have prevented you from speaking. I wish I had done, because what you've said has offended a lot of people in this council, and it's also alerted us to the fact that we may not get the support from the official opposition on this issue, which I think is well, I know it's not from all of the members of the opposition. Yeah, okay. So we'll move on now. As you can probably tell, it's something that is very, very close to many of our hearts. And so we've got a seconder and we've got a proposer. I can see all those. In fact, actually, I think we'll make this a recorded vote. Can I have a recorded vote?
Through you, Chair, you'll need a seconder for a recorded vote.
Thank you, Andy.
You just bear with me a second.
You've got the sheet.
Yeah, just bear with me.
Got the names on there. He's got it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, councillors, when I read your names out, if you could just indicate if you are for, against, or abstaining against the motion, please.
Can you just explain, please, for those who didn't catch what we recorded vote on?
Right.
It's on the recommendation.
It's on the recommendations in
Page 129.
Yeah.
On the recommendation.
Yeah. So part 2. Yeah. So basically what we want to bring in is a protocol, a health and safety protocol for all the items that are listed in section 2.
Yeah, 2A to 2G. Yeah.
Okay, so through you. So, Councillor Peter Bales. Councillor Brown.
Abstain.
Councillor Bullock. Councillor Bunn. Councillor Carr.
4.
Councillor Falvey. Councillor Harlow. Councillor Hills.
Abstain.
Councillor Kingdon.
4.
Councillor Jill Owen.
Abstain.
Councillor Patterson. Councillor Webb. And Councillor Tideswell.
4.
So that's 10-4 and 3 abstentions. That's passed.
Okay, thank you. So we move to item